Underrated Elseworld is Green Lantern Evil's Might by Howard Chaykin and David Tishman, with Rogers on the art, doing the pencils anyway. This story, I love it a lot, partially because I myself am a union member, and this takes place at the turn of the century when unions really were fighting for workers' rights that brought about much of the reform that we got, after the turn of the century and into the New Deal era. This story features the rich aristocrats that, are sitting around playing cards and frivolously spending their money on all sorts of things that they believe that America should have, that they're jealous of other countries having, just flaunting their wealth, not really actually wanting to make anything better for society. And this also brings in our main character, Kyle Rayner, who is a member of the Bowery Greens, a gang that goes around and extorts people, but also, on the side, he's a cartoonist for the newspaper. He draws political cartoons in the papers that mock the millionaires and show them as greedy people that just gobble everything up and are completely taking advantage of people. At this time in America, there were a ton of monopolies, the Carnegies and such. They owned practically everything. This is what led to trust busting here. And in this story, we can see the dangerous conditions that workers are forced to toil in. Your other option was being in a gang if you didn't want to have to break your back to make a couple bucks. This all becomes way too much for Kyle, though, so he leaves the gang behind and is gifted by a storekeeper that he defends, this Green Lantern, which of course ends up being magical and giving him his power ring. Of course, this story continues and escalates and everything as Kyle Rayner gets his ring, and, discovers his powers, but you're going to have to read the rest from there. I think a big, huge part of what I love about this story is just the era that it takes place in. I feel like it's an era that we don't talk about enough in American history. The time before we had regulations and labor laws and all of the things that have made life so much better for Americans today. And this kind of gives you, it's not the most educational or probably the most accurate view, but still it gives you a little peek into what that time period was like. It is definitely the most fun view into that period of time because superhero stuff.